to call Simone up. Everybody give her a big round of applause. Everybody throw those hugs out. All around her. Welcome her with power, hug, love, and forgiveness.
Thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you.
I really appreciate the support. And something I really wanted to bring to our attention, which this whole thing while it was happening, is what year is it anyway? Before I tell you my story, one of police brutality and excessive use of force that left me battered and bruised, I must start with the story of the women's civil rights movement. I start here because it highlights the struggle and the fight of women have faced all throughout history. A struggle and a fight that still continues today, and a struggle that played out on January 23rd, 2017 at 325 Washington Street, which directly affected me. First and foremost, we all know the history of the treatment of people of color, and in particular, women of color in our country. People of color have been dehumanized and stripped of their human rights since the first European settlers colonized this nation. We were treated as commodities, devoid of emotions and barred from receiving basic human rights. That is our story from the beginning of this country. From that history, women had to raise their voices even louder than men to demand equal rights. The women's suffrage movement began in 1848. The women's rights brought to Seneca Falls, New York, Women's Rights Convention. 50 years later, with the leadership of Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and several other women's rights pioneers, activist suffrage circulated petitions and made Congress pass a constitutional amendment to propose that women should be given the right to vote in local elections. However, women of color did not receive the same placement beside our white counterparts.
That's right. That's right.
What year is it anyway? Let's move to the 1930s, where men were legally allowed to institutionalize a woman for attitude readjustments, for being overly emotional and lazy, and or acting depressed. All different types of therapies were commonly forced upon women by men to control women's demeanor and disposition. From smile therapy to throwing a woman into a pit of snakes, these therapies were inflicted upon women, all in the name of controlling her emotional state. This wrongful detainment and humiliation may sound barbaric and very distant from our current times, but to be honest, it is not that distant. With the types of therapies forced upon women have altered how we as women are viewed and handled when it is believed we are too emotional not to change. What year is it anyway? Today, we as women have no say over our own bodies and minds. Technically and historically speaking, if you are a married woman, you are legally your husband's property. That is the backdrop of what it means to have a woman take her husband's last name. Today in 2020, laws have been passed that make it illegal for a woman to have an abortion no matter the cause of the pregnancy. Laws have been passed that can strip a woman of her legal rights if she is deemed mentally incompetent by a medical justice system that is not set up for women of color or women's mental health. Now in the year 2020, even though great strides have been made to support the physical and mental well-being of women, we as women, and in particular women of color, are still fighting. Even more so today. We must acknowledge our tragic history if we want to build a stronger, more equitable society for ourselves, for our future. I want you to take a journey with me back to January 23rd, 2017, in which I was personally victimized of a wrongful detainment, humiliated due to the fact that I was deemed emotional by the police and the fake advocates. Let me tell you my truth. I received a call to come down to the Day 1 program for battered women. They contacted me after my name came across their desk through a domestic dispute case. The representative said, Deborah, she could help me move and help me financially by giving me a couple of months' rent to keep me on my feet and away from that domestic dispute situation. I took the bus down to the police department where it is located and on the 3rd floor. I met with the counselor. She asked me what happened a few weeks prior with my then partner. I obliged, and with the information on the current case of vandalism in my home due to the situation. She asked me common questions, if you would run in if you were seeking psychiatric assistance. I explained that 3 years prior, I had situations that did not at all pertain to what was going on. She then said she needed backup. So this is where we run into family services. This is Carla's department. Carla comes in.
Teddy Bear Carla.
Yeah, Teddy Bear Carla walking door to door to everybody. So she came in and then she left. When she left, it left me with an uneasy feeling. I was given the okay by Deborah to leave, so I walked out. When I walked out, I was confronted by officers and Carla. They refused to let me leave. They told me I was detained, I was a danger to myself. And knowing my own rights, I let them know I am here for help. I am a victim of domestic violence. It's unnecessary to have 7 to 10 grown men surround me. What seemed like days were hours of confinement. I pleaded for water, a phone call, to call my mother to check on the welfare of my own child. And all my requests fell upon deaf ears. I waited in sobbing silence for signs of relief. When the next sergeant came on duty, he ordered my cuffs to be removed. After hours of being in the cell, I was requested to kneel down and raise my arms up backwards as far as possible. And I had to wait for the fire department to come and remove those cuffs with the jaws of life.
Wow.
The hour came to 8 p.m. by the time I was taken out of the cell and given mug shots. They hand-delivered me to the holding cells to a waiting room at Rhode Island Hospital to find out my nightmare was not over. The traumatic experience left me wondering, what is the role of the police officers and what is the role of the health advocates? Here is a definition of a police officer. Serve to maintain law, order in local areas by protecting members of the public and their property, preventing crime, reducing the fear of crime, and improving the quality of life for all citizens. So for those bullies to go and tell them to attack me is not anything that involves their definition to serve and protect at all.
That's right.
That was not my experience with the police on January 23rd of 2019. My experience highlights what police officers should not do and also brings to light the partnership of social work and law enforcement. Brutalize a person in need of emotional help. What happened to me at the hands of the police? Command of advocates was police brutality brought upon by the fake advocates that were there to help me. Police brutality is defined as the abuse of authority by unwarranted infliction of excessive force by personnel involved in law enforcement while performing their official duties. I want to further add that police officers do not have the proper training or education around and the credentials to diagnose someone with a mental condition.
That's right.
And neither do these advocates.
That's right.
That's right.
Fake advocate.
That's fake is a $3 bill.
Fake ass.
Mental health workers are professionals who diagnose health treatment and conditions and provide those. Most have at least a master's degree or more advanced education and training credentials. Police officers do not have this. So when Carla said sick them, they sicked them. And those so-called advocates are taught to de-escalate situations that may grow to be unsafe. As you can see, that part of their training was not executed. I began my story by asking, what year is it anyway? And so I put the same question to you. What year is it anyway? Are we to be catapulted back into the 1800s or 1930s where women continuously suffered under the law? Should police officers be the ones to determine the mental health needs for our women?
No.
From the physical and verbal abuse that I suffered as a result of the police officers and advocates' direct actions on January 23rd, 2017, it truly feels that way. I am a victim. I am a victim of violation of my rights of individuals who should be able to utilize their judgment and free will. I am a victim of police brutality. I am a victim of domestic violence advocates.
Yeah.
However, I will no longer be a victim. Just as the women before me and around me are joining hands and lifting their voices to fight for not only women's rights, but human rights, I'm doing the same. My voice now joins in the struggle to end not only police brutality, but to help end the injustice many regularly face in the legal system and the social work system. I refuse to be silenced by the police brutality I suffered and the violation of my rights as a woman, as a human being. I refuse to be silenced by the inaccuracies of the officers' stories of how I threatened and wounded them. I refuse to continue to be a victim. They can take away my freedom, but they will never take away my dignity. This is my truth, and I refuse for us to stay stagnant in history. This is a time for change. Thank you. I want to thank all of you for your support. It means the world to me that all of you want to see the same change that I do, and that we can come together and make this happen, because what happened that day was wrong, but it's happened on more than one occasion, and other people have not had the option to have a voice and didn't have supporters the way you guys are here for me today. So I want all of us to stand together for them, because there are several other people who have been victimized by the social work system and helped by the police department to make it a whole business. So please, let's stop this business. Let's sign this petition. They don't need our tax dollars to hurt us. Right. We're already going through it. We don't need to pay them to do it to us.
Yep, defund them.
Let's start this petition, and let's start defunding this partnership between police officers and social workers.
Yeah.
Defund them.
These agencies get federal money from the Violence Against Women Act to do the work of supporting women, supposedly supporting women. Violence against women, and they're creating violence to women. They're supporting the violence of women. They're not helping us. We've received reports of other women who work in similar fields and have told the main job of some of these fake advocates has been prosecution instead of support of the women. So that's something else that we really need to think about. We've taught, and there's ways to go about this federally, on the city level, and on the state level. But no one needs to get paid to continue to abuse and to support the abuse of women.
That's right.
And for anyone out there, I don't usually do this. I don't usually read morons' comments, demonic people's comments under some of the things that we do. But I happen to read a few. And for anyone out there who's questioning what happened to Simone, think about your sister, your mother, your aunt being drugged by her hair, being held down by 5, 6, 8, 10 men while her hair is being pulled at the root. When I saw this sister and they have her on the ground, it's like, I felt that pain. I felt that pain. Because so many of us have been there.
Yep.
But for any of us who can question this, I question your humanity. I question you, and I'm glad you're not in this movement. I'm glad we're a strong people. I'm glad we're people. We have your back, Simone. We're here for you. And we're here for anyone else who needs to come forward, and express their stories. Call Prism. Look Prism up. And, you know, we're here. People are here for you. Right now we're here. Justice for Simone! Justice for Simone! Justice for Simone!